morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet we share together. My name is Annette de Graaf, and this is the 100 Connected podcast, where we talk to inspiring people making a real difference in education around the world. And I am joined, as always, by the wonderful Hanneke Mackie from Bus Kids in South Africa.
Hello, hello.
Hello, and there's Lindsay Stewart from Sweet Tree Arts in Hope, Maine, the US.
Hello.
And Alex Shapiro from the HundrED headquarters in Helsinki.
Hey, y'all. So glad to be here.
Yes, and today we are incredibly excited to shine the spotlight on one of our own 100 Connected podcast crew members, Cherrelle Druppers from Chesa Chesa in Kenya.
Hi. So excited to be here.
And we're so delighted to welcome her colleague and co-founder, Francis, or Franco. I'm not sure if I pronounced your last name correct, but I'm going to try. Odhiambo, is that correct?
Perfect. I think you're the first one who tried it on the first round and you hit it the right way. So that's nice.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm so happy about that. So first about Cherrelle. Cherrelle has a background in education and international development and is passionate about creating learning opportunities that help at-risk children thrive. And Cherrelle's positive attitude and energy are just the best. And it truly was friendship at first sight when we all met her in Helsinki during the 100th Summit in November 2024. And Franco, he is an award-winning youth leader, a global youth ambassador for education, and a strong believer in the power of dance to teach life skills and build emotional resilience. And together they founded Chesa Chesa in 2018. Chesa Chesa creates safe spaces where dance educates, heals, and empowers children growing up in marginalized communities. Their mission is to equip every child with the capacity to make responsible life choices and realize their full potential through movement, creativity, and connection. Chesa Chesa was recently recognized as one of 100's most impactful and scalable innovations of 2025. Beautiful acknowledgement of the incredible work they are doing to change lives through the arts. And we're so happy to have you two with us today. So first, Cherrelle, could you please take us back to 2018 when Chesa Chesa was born and tell us the story of how it all started?
Yes, thank you so much for the introduction. And it's so nice sometimes to go back in time because we're 7 years in. It's been a journey. And I would love to take us back to how it all started because it was my 2-year stay in Kenya. So I've been at that time 2 years in Kenya and working for a big American NGO, and it was okay work. But on my downtime, I was dancing a lot. I was dancing with a dance group because I danced my entire life growing up. And in Kenya, something got ignited to dance and to move again. And on these Afro beats that everybody now knows, it was very exciting for me. Dance group said, "Hey, we're having a performance on TV. Would you like to join?" So I went to the TV station and we had to sit in a waiting room for hours. And I think in the end, we didn't even got to perform. And during that time in the waiting room, I was actually seated next to Franco. And we started talking and he showed pictures of this dance class that he organized for children in his community. And Franco will share where he's from. And he said, "Would you like to come and watch one of my classes one day?" And I said, "I would love to. I mean, I have a background in education, always danced growing up, and I thought I would love to come and visit you." So I took his number. I didn't text you for months. And one Saturday, I thought, there's this guy, and I want to visit him. Let me text him. So he came to pick me up from the bus station, big smile, as you can see. And he said, come to my community. So we went deep into Kibera, walking down pathways and coming through houses. And he took me to this hall, and there he was dancing with the children. And I got very overwhelmed with emotions. And I don't know if it's too much to say that I had like an epiphany or a vision, but I felt we need to do something together because I saw that Franco was a role model immediately. He was one of the good guys. He was providing such a safe space for the children. He was showing them how to be confident, to work together. And there was so much joy and happiness that I thought, how can we bring this to more children across Kibera, across more communities like this. And everything connected for me at that moment. And I said, Franco, I'm going to quit my job. We're going to start an organization. And I don't know if Franco believed me at that time, but after a month of meeting Franco, I did quit my job. And I asked him, shall we do this? And what does dance and movement in Swahili, how do you translate that? And he said, Chesa Chesa. And the rest is history. But yeah, Franco, I wonder what your version of the story is.
Oh my goodness, this is the best. Now we can't wait for your side of the story, Franco.
We have the same story, in case you're
From
wondering.
your point of view.
But yeah, I'm still one of the good guys, by the way, in the community. But really, this story is usually very emotional. How everything that just happened and how we met and what we are doing now. It's crazy when you think of it. From how we met. And to be honest, from the moment we exchanged numbers, I didn't expect anything much really, because before that, so many people I talked to like, yeah, you're doing a good thing in the community, the dance, blah, 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 blah. Then some of the people also came and saw the class and they left. So also when Chesha was saying like, she'll quit the job and we do something, I was like, okay. I've heard people saying lots of similar things of we will do something. But that was a point of the first person to believe in what I was doing and what we were doing in Kibera, and that was Cherrelle. And nobody has ever came through that way from back then up to like really even now. And so at first I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. But then it turned out to be so serious, and we created this thing that's now not only impacting myself and the kids in Kibera, but it has gone all over now, Kenya and other regions and all that. But how also this started for me is it was a story of trauma, and now it's a story of inspiration and a story of hope from what we've created. Myself, I was born and raised in one of the largest slums, Kibera. That's where Cheche came to. And growing up, I faced a lot of challenges. I'm not an exception, also just put straight. The challenges that I went through, other children are facing them, other youths are also facing them. Some of them are also going through worse challenges than mine. But Kibera being like an informal settlement, slum, people tend to have only one side of the story, where it's like crime, it's poverty, there's a lot of negative stories that people have, yet there is the double side of the story where we have beautiful, amazing, smart, creative people also from these environments. I just happen to be one of them. But actually, with our smartness and creativeness, sometimes we don't see that, or sometimes we don't see ourselves into it, because we get so much into poverty, we get so much into what I'll eat today and how I'll survive, till the only thing I know of myself is poverty defines me, and that's not it. And that was my life at one point. So at this point, when I was young, I could have either died or now I'll be in jail. Because my life was one of crime, one of being with like bad friends and gangs, and there's drugs around and all that. And the thing that helped me navigate all this and be the person that I am today, or helped me get to the stairs to the person that I am today, was dance. Because dance enabled me to be myself, connect with the community, realize I was a leader, because through it I could bring people together and we do something and we organize events, and it opened my mind at that time. Also, dance has done bad things in my life. Because of dance, I was chased from home, by the way, with my dad. But then that again, it's a story of trauma that now, whatever we are doing now as ChezaCheza, it's because of also that background, and trying to work also with parents, and parents to know how to better support their children. Because there's no parent who has like bad intentions towards their children, but sometimes their intentions and their actions are very different and they collide. So that also was my story. So in my story, you can see all these challenges that the kids that we're working with right now are facing. And because dance worked for me, in school I was bullied a lot because, okay, here in Kenya, all of us are black, okay? But then there are those ones like me who are more dark. And then people tend to bully you. And so I was bullied a lot in school, so I was shy. But again, the only way I used to find my strength in school was through dance, because when I was dancing in school, people used to notice me and celebrate me and all that. So dance enabled me to get here. Now imagine with the same dance, now with structures, with strategies, with support, imagine what dance can do to other kids in these informal settlements. If this is me without a structure back then, and now with structures and everything, dance can do so much more to the youth and the children who are coming from vulnerable communities, for them to realize themselves and for them just to know there is hope in life, and poverty and your challenges does not define you. And that's what we are going for as ChezaCheza. That's why we are saying we are educating, we are healing, and we are empowering. Yeah. That's our superpower.
You are so inspirational, both of you. Cherrelle, I've known you now for a couple of months and hopefully forever. And Franco, I just have to say, like, the way you share your story with such grace, it's just amazing. You know, you've been through so much, and you tell it in a way that I think so many people can relate to. You know, I'm based here in South Africa, so aware of the sort of privilege that I have in amongst, you know, the various contexts we have here in South Africa and in Africa. When you talk about the different shades of blackness and whiteness, like we have all of that going on. And when you were talking, it was just really, I was just holding space around how often you use the word dance and how it's been your saving grace and also your trauma. And there's just this beautiful relationship you've had with this thing. It's almost like it's another character in your life, dance. You speak to it so, so beautifully. With my organization, we also use drama, dance, and singing and art forms to help children develop. And we will still collaborate for sure. But I'm wondering about when you speak about, like, so many of the other people in the community going to drugs or violence or crime. And my feeling always is, when I look at specifically dance and movement, that it becomes a positive expression of those difficult emotions as well. It's an outlet. My little boy has been at home because we've had some school holiday, and he's a 5-year-old. And I'm watching his body just get more and more frustrated because he's not climbing enough trees and running around enough the last couple of days. And all I want to do is, like, run him like a dog. So it gets that energy out. And when you explain this about dance, I mean, I just related in such an incredible way that it's the expression of the emotion through the body in a positive as opposed to a negative way. I often see children that haven't had an exposure to it. They then turn to, like, needing to express that in a potentially more negative way. But if you could just speak to your experience of dance, and both of your experience of dance as a therapy and saving us from, like, going in that sort of other direction in life. And I guess that's why you're doing it with the children.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. You know, when you are talking about the dance and some people getting into drugs, you know, sometimes you face life in a way, and life can hit you in different ways where you see no light at the end of the tunnel. As people say, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes you don't see that. And at that time, you don't have words to express it. At that time, you just don't know who to talk to or how to talk about it. And the only thing you can do, or the only thing that can communicate how you're feeling, is your body. And that's what dance and movement gives us. Because sometimes also we see the kids, they have so much trauma, they have so much anxiety, and also this was my life. But then you get to a place where, okay, you have people, but you cannot communicate it. And we see them with the movement. Some of them will cry while moving. Some of them will just breathe in and out heavily. Some of them will just move with how you're putting out as punching, and now we call it cramping now with the dance. And it gives you a form of an outlet, and you have the freedom of expression where nobody's giving you a boundary. It's like you express yourself in whichever way you want. Nobody's judging you, and it's your body. So please just let it go. And dance gives us that opportunity to just let it go in our own way, without being in any boundary or without being in any box per se. Because nobody says that's a perfect dance. Nobody says that's a bad dance, such as a Chesa. It's like all of us are moving. And if moving is helping you connect with everyone, if moving is helping you, most importantly, connect with your inner self, then please do it in whichever way you can. So yeah, I resonate with that as well. I don't know, Cheche, how do you resonate with this?
Well, I was just thinking of an example of our class that can really illustrate this, because I think what's so beautiful about Franco is that he's doing something so organic. And when I met him, I could see all these things and it was so organic. And what I try to figure out is, like, how do I put words or structure into what he's doing? Because what he's doing is, for example, dance movement therapy. So that's one framework that we use at ChezaCheza. It's how do you use your body as a way to communicate? And a lot of the activities in class and the flow are based, for example, on this form of psychotherapy. And what we did in the beginning, we always start in a circle because that comes from therapy. People feel safe, seen, and no one's left behind. And when we first started doing this, which was very strange to the kids at first, we asked them, how do you feel? So we did breathing exercises and we asked the children, how do you feel? And each of the children, about 30 in the class in the beginning, said poa, 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 which means okay in Swahili. And we're like, okay, we're not getting anywhere because like these kids are not like, they're not okay. And how can 30 kids feel poa, poa, poa? So that immediately was a signal to us that the language is not always what the kids will use to express themselves. So we said, so how do you feel when you express it in a movement? If it's your shoulder, if it's a move, like it can be anything, show us. And that became our language. And now at the start of a ChezaCheza class, you see 30 or 40 unique movements of the children. And you can see where's the energy? Are they shy? Are they excited? What are they trying to tell us through that movement? And if you would ask them in a word, you would get 3 or 4 similar words. But when you ask in movement, you see so much uniqueness and creativity come out that I think that's why we use dance and that's why we use movement, because it's unique and it's our unique language to express how we feel.
That is so inspiring. Oh my goodness. I want to try it now, like, or tomorrow with a group of children. Okay, I'm going to do it. Thank you for that.
I also want to, sorry, Annette, did you have a question? You're going further. Because sitting here, we've been discussing over other podcasts, other sessions, what is it about the arts? And you just so beautifully, both of you have framed that for us, recognizing that it is a non-verbal experience that's higher than the verbal that many societies have decided to say, this is, here we are chatting away. But we all know if we could have this conversation right now through dance, we would be learning at a higher level. We would be transforming some part of ourselves. We would be, as a group, we would elevate our own learning. And that piece that you speak so beautifully about, both of you, is such a gift. So I want to say there's a pattern here. And the pattern that we have been developing with this podcast is that in each one of these conversations, what I've been able to hear from these incredible innovators is that they can live side by side next to both hardship and joy. And when we make that choice, when we know both exist, that means we can begin to develop the joy more, right? Your focus, Franco, is so clear. And what I know, which is so exciting, is that is a massive outcome of creative thinking. When you can have multiple things live side by side, multiple truths, right? Then you can begin to move in this positive direction. And your story is an incredible example of that. And the last piece of that puzzle is the conversation that keeps building. We talk a lot about trauma on this show. But what is beautiful is allowing us to see in this moment post-traumatic growth, not post-traumatic stress, but know that real growth comes out of trauma. And Franco, your story clearly demonstrates that. And I love how the arts and that embodied experience is the thing that has allowed you to stay and live in both of those places through your life. It's so inspiring.
So beautiful. Wow, your words. As always, Lindsay, I think you give words to this experience very well. And
you did it. I just heard your words.
Yeah.
And I'm giving them back to you. That's
Yeah.
all I did.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned joy and happiness, because this has also become more and more of a focus at ChezaCheza, because we forget about joy and happiness in our work, but also in the learning experience in schools. And like you said, one doesn't mutually exclude the other. And that's why when you see ChezaCheza, everything what we do is about joy, happiness, and our reports and our logo and everything that we do, because it's like, it's not about, oh, look at the hardship and we're so traumatized over here, but it's about look at the joy and the talent and the energy that we have, and that's so important. And so thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on this because I think that
I knew you
I've
had
been
something
thinking,
else to
yeah, while Lindsay, you were explaining in these beautiful words, I had this immediate thought of the poverty of language, right? That one of the reasons that what you all are doing in these dance circles when you're asking these young people to express themselves in dance is to ask them to do something that cannot be done in the spoken word. And one of those things is letting go of the idea of communicating something so precise and instead saying, I want you to try to come into my mind in a way that language can't do. And I'm going to do that by showing you literally how do I feel throughout my body. And then while I was thinking this, then Lindsay turns around and expresses that idea also so beautifully in words and in language. And I thought that that was really interesting. But the thing that a thread that was in here a couple of times is this idea of education. And Cherrelle, you've talked over some previous episodes, of course, about how you teach SEL and how you teach all of these different soft skills, 21st century skills, critical thinking through dance. But I also want to know, Franco, is dance something that was used as a learning tool for you in your experience? Or is this something that you all are kind of forging together? Was it a part of the schooling system that you had when you were growing?
I think I was fortunate enough to meet dance or dance finding me. Formally with the school, that wasn't there. And actually, when I was growing up, a school saw dance as a waste of time. And that's break time. Whenever you are free, you can do that. And we were never free anyways. So there was no time to dance. But still, dance helped me through my education. What do I mean? Because when I was dancing, I was meeting part of myself that I didn't know, because in class I was shy and I was being bullied and all that. But when I was dancing, it's when I was noticing I'm actually confident. I can come up with creative ideas. I can ask questions and all that. And now I was taking that into class when I was going into class. But that was now me believing in myself. Through the dance, I noticed I could do 1, 2, 3 things. And whenever I stepped in class and I remember the things I'm good at, that was giving me like the confidence to be myself and to be more in class and to be present. And whenever now, with a friend of mine called Collins, we used to get into class with like the moonwalk and all that, and the other kids will now start shouting and they'll celebrate us. And that, you know what that will do through the day? It will just give me the confidence of I'm supposed to be in this class and I'm amazing. And that was opening my mind towards like the subjects, towards the teachers. And that's what dance did to me in school, though it wasn't formally. But really, coming back to also what Lindsay was talking about and also Cheche on joy and happiness, and I'll connect that to school and the system and why also we're in schools right now, is there's a way dance connects with our minds. And we're doing now research because we started ChezaCheza very informally without research and all that, but now we're working on it. But dance connects direct to your mind. And whatever, let's say, a drug that will make you be high or get high will do to your mind, dance will do that. And it will release those hormones that will help you to be more happy with yourself, that will help you to be joyful. And every day when you do that, without knowing, you're becoming more joyful person every day, every day. Before you know you are a joyful person, you are a hopeful person, and you're looking forward to life. And that changes your perspective towards how you learn, how you face life, how you face others. And that's kind of what we want to tap into the kids. When they get into schools, first of all, they believe schools are happy places. I'm supposed to be in school. When they get to a school, they know this is a place I'm able to express myself, and I can use my dancing. I can express myself in anyhow. And that what that does is it goes into the mind. And when it gets into the mind, then this child start thinking very different. They're not thinking, oh no, that mathematics is hard. They're thinking, oh, that mathematics, I'm counting 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. How can I implement that into my mathematics? You can do so many things with dance, and it's just a matter of tweaking your mindset a little bit. And that's where we are getting the kids from, where we are changing their mindset and looking at things very different, looking at hard things in a very simple way, which is dance, which is movement, and that making everyone happy, the teacher, the child, everyone is joyful and everyone is learning in a beautiful way. So I believe if we do this and we implement this in so many schools as we want to do as ChezaCheza, then learning will be a fun thing. And when learning is a fun thing where the teacher is enjoying, the child is enjoying, believe me, no one will be dropping out of school. And when no one is dropping out of school, when everyone is learning, meaningful learning, then the world will be changing to be a better place, because also we learn to be humans in schools. And schools should be able to teach us to be humans through empathy and all that. So I get very excited when I talk about this. So let me just pause there, and yeah.
And the earlier you can build those neural networks, the better. That's this exciting thing. It's so fantastic to hear you talking about all of this.
But we're in the journey of formalizing it and working with the government here in Kenya, and that's the goal and the dream of Happy Schools, where the ChezaCheza elements and thinking and ideas, if it could be implemented in, if possible, in every school in Kenya and even beyond, that will be beautiful. I mean, imagine every school starting with a dance session or movement session every morning, or teachers implementing their superpowers, gifting to their everyday teaching. It cannot be only movement, it can be a drawing. Any teacher can be creative. Imagine every teacher coming in with their own creativeness, approaching learning and allowing every student to be engaged and to feel like they're part of the learning, and they feel the sense of belonging in the learning. I think that will really change this world to be a very better place. Yeah.
Before you have your big question, because I know you're ramping up to it, Linz, but I'll just throw some more ideas in the pot as you stir it. You know how I've been talking often about, like, I'm going to get that tattooed on my body when we have these ahas. And one of the ahas today is the post-traumatic growth. I don't know if there's any more space left on my metaphorical body to put to tattoo that on, but what a powerful statement that is, and like what dance does. And I kept scribbling on my page mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. And we've often, obviously, as a human society, we've put mind right at the top in the sort of the cognitive development of the child or the person, obviously in education, and then right at the bottom is obviously the body, and somewhere in between, if we engage with it, the spirit. And I just thought about my own journey as someone of my own sort of journey through trauma and through my life, and how much I've even come to a point now where my personal therapy has had to become physical and in the body, to the point where my actual psychotherapist fired me at the end of last year and said to me, Hanneke, you don't need any more psychotherapy, you need body therapy. And I thought about how powerful it is that your work is starting so young with children. That body therapy, that somatic work that dance does, and the expression of the anger or the aggression or just the pent-up energy, the expression of the ideas, the self, the integration of the midline crossing, bringing the whole self together. I think about my own schooling journey and my own life, and obviously we often reflect on how education has to change. The only movement that was allowed in school was when we did sport. And there's nothing wrong with that. Love sport, but I'm so excited about what the future holds when more Chezas and buzzes and sweet trees and flows and so many of the other beautiful innovations make headway in the world, where these other modalities then become a way of developing the child from so young, as opposed to us getting to adulthood and having to integrate mind, body, spirit, and feeling like not necessarily that connected to my body as a vessel through which I also express myself, through which I learn, through which I live, as opposed to this floating self that actually only lives from the neck up. So I just want to celebrate again the work that you guys do in such an important place and from such an authentic root, because yeah, I mean, I guess there's no question here other than just, please comment on that, both Cherrelle and Franco, what you see in the kids in terms of that early foundation and potentially the 7-year perspective, potentially watching some children over time, and how that maybe supports them in not necessarily needing other types of therapies, or how it keeps them from being marginalized. I mean, my feeling is that it must help them in not just the academic ways, but in the psychosocial and the emotional and the not bullying and the integration and the self-confidence. So yeah, thank you. And just reflecting, I suppose, on that.
Many things that I can say, but especially our slogan in schools is movement isn't a break from learning, movement is learning. So that's really the idea that we want to put in the teacher's head, that, like, again, if you move, it's not a break. Like, you're learning so much through moving your body, and that's what we want to instill. Funny thing that you said is I think Franco might have like an experience or a story of one of our kids like over the years, but there was a funder who came to visit us and they really liked the work, but they were asking some of our senior students who are now like 18 or 19, like, what are you guys doing? And they said, I'm trying to dance. I'm trying to make money through dancing. They had a lovely conversation. And afterwards she said, yeah, I'm a bit concerned that these kids are not, in school after high school. that's very difficult in our context. There's a lot of parents who don't have funding, and we don't actually do something around funding to do postgraduate education. And she was really concerned with that. And sometimes if you hear a funder, you're starting to doubt your own work. And then I reflected back on it with Franco, and I said, our kids, they finished high school, so I'm very proud of that. And our kids might not now be post education, but do you know what? They're good human beings. And I know that they will not hit their children. I know that they will not be abusers. And I will know that they will be resilient in life. And that indicator of they're not in school or they're not doing this, or, that all of a sudden went away. And I felt like we're just producing really great human beings. And that's maybe a little bit of the answer of how I see our kids. And we're character building over here. And it's not as quantifiable as certain people would like to see.
But it's as important, and even more so
That's what I
important.
think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good, just whole humans going out into the world.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we had like some reactions, because I just wanted to share like the love for the conversations that we are having here. But why I think it's also important to start young, and also why we are starting with young children or that younger age. Personally, I believe 90% of the leadership problems we are having now, people not being enough humans, how we are supposed to be, and taking care of each other and taking care of the environment and all this. Personally, I believe these problems did not start now. It started with how we and these people grew up. What were the lessons? What are the experiences they went through while they were growing up? And that now leads to someone, when you are growing older now, you start doing some things because how your childhood was. So if we start having those important values as early as now to these children, them connecting to themselves as early as when they are young, them knowing how to take care of themselves, then take care of others as when they are young. When they grow up, they'll be growing up into this. When they grow up, this like love for themselves and others will keep on growing and taking care of others as well. And that's why we believe on starting younger, because as people say, now children is the next leaders of the world or the next adults. So it's really important for us to take care of these adults before they become adults, so that they become the right adults when they're grown up. Because it's really hard to fix someone already when they're old enough, and it's easier enough when they're young to help them understand themselves better. Because when they're adults, a few of us tend to go through for therapy and seek for help. But most of us as well, when we're adults, it's when we are shy, and it's when we don't want to be seen like we are struggling. It's when we want to be seen like everything is okay because we are protecting ourselves. That's what we think. But a child doesn't think of all those things. If you have the right values for them when they're young, then they'll be growing up with these values. So that's why I think it's very important for us to start when young. And dance is one of the best tools that we can use to empower these children as they're growing. Because here in Kenya, when you play music, every child will dance and we'll all move. So why can't we take that opportunity to help them get intact and in touch with themselves and know how to take care of themselves and others as well in the process as they grow up? Yeah.
Okay, the other thing I hear you both saying so beautifully is this ability to understand. Obviously, you're talking about being more human, and that emotional intelligence, and that piece that you continually talk about, the social emotional. What you're doing in those moments is allowing them to practice that, right? You're allowing them to practice their emotions rise, and there's somewhere for them to go, and over again, they're not defined by those emotions. That is true emotional intelligence. We feel them, we know them, and we also know we don't have to react from that rise of anger or jealousy or whatever emotion is coming. It doesn't define us. It's just something to experience, and it's something to transform. And I can hear how you do that in your work daily with the children you work with. And that is a really beautiful thing. You answered my big question, so I'm not even going to ask it.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you, Lindsay. Like, what was your big question then? What did you write down?
Shall I leave you all curious?
No, please.
My big question was just, what has been the most unexpected thing that has risen from your work, both of you, from your work, from Chesa Chesa? What is the thing that surprised you most? And I've heard a few of it, but maybe there's something bigger underneath.
It's a really big question. Franco.
I have two things that have surprised me so far. So one is we didn't know that the parents, especially the Cheza parents, that them also they loved dancing that much, or they loved dancing while they were young. So it's during our parents' meeting when this conversation comes up, and like our counselor is asking them, were you also dancing while you were young? Then they're also like, yes, I used to do that, and I used to run away from home and go dance. So that was a surprise. Then I'm like, okay, why are you not supporting these kids to dance then? But again, it's because their parents did not allow them while they were young. So again, it's about getting to when they were young. Then this is affecting the kids now. So that was a surprise. Another one in terms of programming is we noticed it back then, but not to the extent that we are right now, of how 9-year-old coming up to like 12-year-old versus a teenager from 13 going to 18, they think very different, they act very different, and it's very critical to come up with a proper curriculum for the teenagers, because teenagers can push you to the wall and they question a lot, and why are you the one telling me this and that, and you're back and forth with them, and they understand sometimes and they behave like they don't understand, so that you can get mad. So that one has been a tricky part for us, but we are also working on it, and with their help now. So we are bringing them also on board to help us to know how we can help them better, because it seems like they know it and we know some things as well. So we are partnering together with these teenagers to help them better. That's another surprise that came as we are doing this work. Cheche, on your end.
Yeah, to me, I think it's more the unfolding of the whole team, in terms of, we started really with the kids, and it's all about the kids, but we work with actually young people, in terms of, we have a community-based program and a school-based program. And in the community-based program, I feel like diamonds in the rough, or they're just already diamonds. We find them in these communities. We train them in our Chesa Chesa curriculum. And they are the ones who provide a Chesa Chesa program in their communities every Saturday afternoon for the children. So it's really somebody who's connected to the community and really contextualizes the program to the community that they're in. And I think the most surprising thing is to see how this brought so many beautiful people together, and that there's so many people doing such amazing work, like how dance unlocks or unfolds these process and growth in the children, but also all the young people that we're working with, seeing them flourish and seeing them finding such purpose, and them being the role models in this program really is just so beautiful to see. That it's just not about the children, it's about everyone involved, and how it brought so many people together. I think is very beautiful to me.
A small final thought around that day when you sat next to each other, and you then went and visited the local community and saw literally how Franco is working with these kids in person. How do you then, at that moment, you obviously came from a nonprofit background, and so you maybe were thinking from the beginning, like, we'll get funding. And that's obviously the model you're in at the moment. But the question I have is this a sustainable model where we can potentially leave something behind for these amazing young people to make money and create business out of this? Or is it something that we're always going to need to get big funders behind? I'm asking, as someone, as you know, playing in the space of arts and the space of non-profit / for-profit. And one of the pieces we're very interested in is youth upliftment, and the idea of leaving the young artist as an entrepreneur, entrepreneur. And so I'm wondering, like, where does that sit with you from a business model point of view?
Great question. And it's something that we started actually this year, because it was always about the kids, but the young people are the role models who, like, if we empower them, they empower the children. So we really thought about, we need to make sure that they're okay, and what is their future in Chesa Chesa, because they're not going to be youth forever. At 5, 6, 7 years in Chesa Chesa, will they still be as motivated as in the beginning? And what is their pathway? So we started a youth fellowship around this. So all the young people working with us, they go into like a 2 to 3 year fellowship where they get entrepreneurial skills, business skills, so that they can actually start their own business. They get business coaching. And in 2 years, they will be able to decide, do I want to work with Chesa Chesa and maybe grow into the organization, or I see something happening in my community that really needs to be done, and I'm going to start something of my own. And that will leave space for the next group of young people to come into Chesa Chesa. And to make sure that we all uplift our communities with the skills that we gain. That's thank you for asking this question. I didn't think you probably didn't know about this, but yeah, we started this youth fellowship this year actually.
That is so great to learn about that. I didn't know.
And also, just to add, also something we are working on structurally, also to help that the youths, and asking like, what are we leaving to the community for also them to sustain themselves? And we are now also thinking on working on structures where we are leaving structures for them also. They can use these structures to do like performances. They can call people to watch their shows. They can use these structures as studios where they can keep on learning and learning from each other and all that. Because sometimes there is talent, but then we miss the opportunities, and we are looking at what if we build these art centers in these communities, because they are not there. The art centers are not in the informal community. There's some sort of buildings that people think it's art center, but it's not. So we need to build like a proper studio for these people. We need to build like a performance theater for these people so that it can keeps on going even beyond us. Even the next generation can come and they have a platform where they can go learn and present themselves in whichever way they want and also make money in the process. So also that's something that we are working on and we leave the community with.
That sounds so exciting.
That's a blind spot that many of us have as artists, is to convince ourselves that what we have to trade to and with the world is worthy of financial reward. And so it's just a celebration of, I'm happy to see Chesa Chesa working on that, and we'll exchange more ideas of that offline, but I'm just really impressed by everything you guys do.
Right? Absolutely. And I just wanted to add that this whole conversation and listening to all of you, and especially to you, Franco and Cheche, I love how you call Cherrelle, but I just feel emotional listening to you, and I'm trying to understand why. And I think it is also because I really, really love to dance, but I also have this like shame and embarrassment because I'm like, I think we were kind of taught exactly what we were saying before, to sit still. Like in school, you just sit. You don't dance in school unless you have like a performance and somebody has taught you exactly those dance steps that you have to do. We all know those videos when everybody's doing the same dance steps and there's maybe one child going completely wild, right?
Yeah.
Like, be that child. But we have unlearned how to really express ourselves through our body. So what Hanneke was saying, mind, spirit, body, like, and those three, we have unlearned that. And I'm just thinking about that. And I really want to connect with that again. So your words are so inspirational and so motivational for me, and maybe people who are listening as well, to dance more. I am so excited. Like when we're going to be done here with the podcast, I'm going to play music and dance. And when my children come home, I'm going to play music and dance with them just to keep that alive. So thank you so much for that inspiration and motivation. And exactly what I said, maybe people who are listening will do the same, and at schools and at your workplace.
Yeah, do it in schools. Like this circle that we're talking about is not so hard. You can just move. You don't have to. The biggest lesson is you don't have to be a dancer to do this. Like we have, like our class is about movement and about flow, and we would love to see every single school like have a type of embodiment in their classroom, and that's really, you know, what we see far ahead.
Yes, we're planting seeds. You are planting seeds. Thank you so much for that. And I think we're ready for our final question. Alex, can you please ask the question?
As always, it is my pleasure. And I want to echo what we've been talking about here. This has been a really inspirational conversation. And I have a Smokey Robinson album in my record player ready to go right after this. So, Cherrelle, we've heard from you before about your dreams for the future of education, but that was at the beginning of this entire process. And we're in a really different place now. So I would love to know if your dream for the future of education has changed. And Franco, the same question goes for you. You've talked a lot about what dance means and how it has helped frame it for you. So what is your dream for the future of education? Maybe let's start with Franco, because I think Cherrelle might need a little bit of time to reflect.
I'm looking forward to properly articulate my dream and the future of education. But really, the future I'm looking at and the dream I'm having in my mind, it's where education is a beautiful weapon to remind everyone that we are supposed to be taking care of each other and ourselves. Education not be the thing of you going through it to get jobs. Just is just a benefit of it, one benefit of it. But if education could be at the center, the focal point of humanity, and schools being able to clearly articulate that to the students, then I believe we'll have a better world in the future. So that's my dream with education, where we are all reminded to be humans through it.
Thank you.
Well. Don't know if I can top those words. I don't remember exactly what I said in the beginning about my big dream for education, but when I hear this conversation, it's so great when children, when you as people are seen for what you're worth and who you are, and if that's recognized. And I would love for education to be that space where people feel valued, where children feel valued and seen. And if that starts at a very young age, I think, like you said, Franco, we'll be better human beings and a better society that can help each other out and are there for each other in the future.
We have no more words, I think. I think it's time to play some music and dance. Thank you so much, everybody. That was the best. I'm so grateful for all of you. Big hugs.